once upon a time. On a very cold and almost dark evening at the end of the year, the snow was falling quickly from the sky. In this cold and dark weather, there was a poor little girl wandering through the streets. She didn't have a hat on her head or shoes on her feet. She did have slippers when she left her home, but they were very big and used to belong to her mom. Unfortunately, she lost one slipper while running to avoid two fast-moving carriages, and a boy took the other slipper and ran away with it. So, the little girl continued walking with her bare and freezing feet, which were turning red and blue because of the cold. She had a bunch of matches in an old apron and held a bundle of them in her hands. Nobody had bought any matches from her that day, and no one had given her even a single penny. She was shivering from both the cold and hunger, and she looked very sad and miserable. Snowflakes were falling on her pretty long hair, but she didn't pay any attention to them. Every house had lights shining from its windows, and there was a delicious smell of roasted goose in the air. It was New Year's Eve. She found a corner between two houses and sat down there, trying to keep warm. She curled up her little feet under her, but it was still very cold. She couldn't go home because she hadn't sold any matches and had no money to take back. Her dad would probably be angry with her, and their home wasn't much warmer than this place. Their roof had holes in it, and the wind would blow through. Her hands were nearly frozen. She thought that maybe lighting a match would help warm her fingers. She took one out and struck it against the wall. It made a small, bright flame that felt warm, just like a little candle. The flame was so magical that she felt like she was sitting next to a big iron stove with shiny brass feet and decorations. It was so cozy and warm. She stretched out her feet to feel the heat, but suddenly the flame went out, and the stove disappeared, leaving her with just a burnt match. She lit another match, and this time, when its light touched the wall turned see-through like a veil. She could see inside a room. There was a fancy dinner set on the table, and a delicious roast goose, stuffed with apples and plums, was steaming. Even more magical, the goose jumped off the dish and walked towards her with a knife and fork stuck in it. But just like before, the match went out, and she was left with a cold wall. She lit another match, and now she found herself sitting under a beautiful Christmas tree. It was bigger and more beautiful than the one she saw at a rich person's house. Many candles were glowing on the branches, and colorful pictures were hanging from them, like the ones she saw in shop windows. She reached out to touch the pictures, and once again, the match went out. The Christmas lights seemed to rise higher and higher, looking like stars in the sky. Then she saw a star fall and leave behind a bright streak of light. She remembered what her dear grandmother had told her: when a star falls, it means a soul is going to heaven. So, she lit another match, and in its warm light, she saw her grandmother, clear and shining, looking loving and kind. The little girl cried out to her grandmother, asking to be taken along. She was afraid her grandmother would disappear when the match burned out, just like the warm stove, the roast goose, and the Christmas tree did. In her hurry, she lit all the matches in the bundle, wanting to keep her grandmother with her. The matches glowed with a light even brighter than daytime. and her grandmother appeared larger and more beautiful than ever. Her grandmother picked her up, and they both flew upwards with joy, far above the earth, where there was no cold, hunger, or pain. They were with God. As the morning light began to appear, people found the little girl, with pale cheeks and a smile on her face, leaning against the wall. She had frozen to death on the last evening of the year. The sun of the new year rose and shone upon her lifeless body. She was still sitting there, holding the matches in her hand. One bundle of matches was burned. Some people thought she had lit the matches to try to keep warm. But no one knew about the beautiful things she had seen and the wonderful place she had gone to with her grandmother on New Year's Day.
Like the video and share it with your family and friends. If you are new here, kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel, Kidzcraze Cartoons.